It's everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Adam, coming back to you to talk about more striking combat sports, the best sports in the world. And that's right, we just got off of college football Saturday. I watched my beloved Penn State lose again, but bye-bye James Franklin. So I'm at peace with that till we get something new going on. So I like other sports. I'm a fan of other sports. I'm a casual Philadelphia fan. I like the Phillies. I like the Eagles. But I'm telling you, there's no sport in the world that makes me lean in and watch it wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, baby. Let me tell you. And that's because I take my bucked up, baby, bucked up energy. No, they're not sponsoring me. I don't have a big enough audience to get a sponsor, but let me tell you, it fuels my fires and keeps me going to talk about Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. This is a spotlight video. What do I mean by that? We're going to have a career perspective of none other than the juggernaut, Lorenzo Hunt. We're going to look at his BKFC career as we get ready for him to take on Josh Dyer coming up on the next show in just a few short days in the main event for the light heavyweight championship. We'll discuss that more at the end of the video. But we're going to look at every fight Lorenzo Hunt has had. I've already done a video like this on Josh Dyer. You want to check it out on the YouTube channel, knuckletfup.com. That's knuckletfup.com. Go there to find everything I do on social media. Please subscribe, follow, friend request, whatever you want to do. I only talk about combat sports, striking combat sports. That's all I talk about on my social media. You don't got to worry about hearing goofy stories about my 3 dogs or my wife's family or my family or what have you. I'm not going to pitter around in that kind of nonsense. We're going to jump right in to the fighting because that's why we're here, right? We're here to discuss fighting. You're not here to discuss Uncle Adam and his life and his things that are going on, right? So let's jump into this discussion about the juggernaut, Lorenzo Hunt. It kicks off with BKFC number 8, where he took on Reggie Pena. This was on October 19th, 2019. It started with Hunt getting a lot of good shots, busting up Pena's face pretty badly. Pena resorted to clinching and dirty boxing to try and keep Hunt at bay. You know, Hunt on the loose, Hunt as a wild man, Hunt as the bobber and weaver and the shoulder roller and what have you. He's the guy you want to look out for. So Pena's like, I'll just get in here and start clinching him and start dirty boxing and see if I can stop him that way. It worked well enough to get him through round 1. But Hunt looks the most dangerous by far after 1 round. Round 2 saw Pena continue his strategy of coming in close, getting a half tie plum and dirty boxing. Hunt is nearly unmarked, though, which commentary points out. He looks a little tired from the dirty boxing, but he's not really marked up. It doesn't seem to really be hurting him that badly. Pena's eye, however, is swollen and bleeding, and as round 3 was slower than the fight has been in rounds 1 and 2, both men sort of stalking each other, trying to find a distance after 3 rounds of phone booth fighting. Before round 4 can begin, though, the fight is stopped. It is waved off due to Pena's eye just being too bad. The doctor says the fight cannot continue. So in his debut fight, as far as I can tell, BKFC number 8, the winner by TKO is Lorenzo Hunt in a pretty good fight. I understood what Pena was trying to do, get in close, fight in a phone booth, if you will. And it worked for him to some degree, but it wasn't enough to stop the juggernaut. That's why he's called the juggernaut, because he just keeps coming as he did so here. We're going to continue on with the career of Lorenzo Hunt, and that moves us into BKFC number 10 against Gustavo Trulio on February 15th, 2020. Started pretty smooth, both guys looking relaxed and with it, sort of gauging, sort of taking their time. When Hunt came in, Trulio always countered with a short right to the mouth, and he dropped Hunt on his face pretty quickly in this bout. Hunt got up with a massive cut on his lip, and his legs weren't under him, and the ref called it. That's right. Our boy Lorenzo Hunt. He came in like he does, like he can do. He measures and he feints and he does his shoulder rolls and he's the man, right? But here he measured and he thought, I'm going to come in, I'm going to come up at this guy, I'm going to do what I do. And when he did, he was met with a counter punch to the mouth. And it was so hard. It busted. I mean, I don't mean just a cut in his lip. I mean, it was like a bad, bad cut that could have stopped the fight just from that. They're worrying about that getting up into your sinuses or whatever. But the fight was stopped. The winner by TKO in 61 seconds, Gustavo Duilio. Damn. Unbelievable to see Hunt drop like that. I don't want to call it a lucky shot. It was a skilled shot. It was a counter shot that beat our boy Lorenzo Hunt in his second fight in BKFC number 10. Now, take note of this, because you ain't going to see this very often when it comes to Lorenzo Hunt. Because we move on to his third fight in BKFC, it was number 12. Lorenzo Hunt took on Eric Lozano on September 11th, 2020, with Hunt looking as relaxed as he's ever looked. That's where you got to be aware that Hunt is a patient fighter. Now, he can throw that out the window sometimes, as we're going to see, and just straight attack and straight go after his opponents. But most of the time, Hunt likes to bide his time, bobbing and weaver, like I said, doing the little feints, doing the shoulder rolls better than anybody in all of bare knuckle, in my opinion, and just get relaxed and prepare and scout for the shot that he's going to take. And that's what he did here. Hunt was struck a number of times, meaning Lozano, came in and fired away. But another thing that Lorenzo Hunt is good at is ducking and blocking punches, I mean. Blocking punches in bare knuckles much harder than regular boxing, because with boxing, you got those big pillows on your fist, right? You can block the shots much better, much easier. They're bigger, they're puffier, they're guarding your face. Even if they hit you, it's nowhere near as hard as the direct hit from somebody's fist, like in bare knuckle. But Hunt is incredible at blocking bare knuckle punches, and that's just not seen very often. Both men went all in at the end of round one, had to be separated by the ref when the bell rang. They're still hitting each other when the bell rang. Damn. And they had to separate them just a little bit to get them to their corners. Lozano had a mouse that popped near the end of round two. I mean, this was a big mouse he had on his eye. It got popped and blood just went everywhere. And he looked like he was a beaten man, but he looked worse than the condition he was in, to tell you the truth. Round three was more the cool, calm, and collectedness that Hunter bobbed and weaved and juked and jived until he found his overhand that he was waiting for seconds before the end of round three that put Lozano to sleep. I mean, boom, the guy's down, the guy's out, rockabye baby, good night. The winner by a massive knockout in round three, Lorenzo Hunt. Lorenzo Hunt quickly recovering from that quick loss in his second fight, just putting his opponent here to sleep. Eric Lozano goes down. The next appearance for our boy, for a man, for one of the toughest son of a bitches in the world, Lorenzo Hunt, was at BKFC 14. Lorenzo Hunt took on Davian Green. This was November 13th, 2020, and it started with Hunt coming out strong. Like normally, like I said, he's a measurer. He came out strong, but backing off and getting more relaxed. Like I think he came in, wanted to end the fight quickly. When he saw that didn't happen, that he didn't get the shot he wanted, sort of backed off and went into more of his game plan. Hunt has a 5-inch reach and height advantage in this match against Green, so that's going to be a big advantage. At the end of round one, Hunt is bleeding in his right eye. Early in the second round, as Green came in, Hunt hit a huge overhand right to Green's jaw, knocking him silly, knocking his mouthpiece out of his mouth. I mean, it's a big overhand. Bam! He found it. What he thought he was going to do in the very beginning of round one when he came in and then backed off when he didn't hit it. He hit it here. Green's mouthpiece goes flying. The ref calls a short timeout, get the mouthpiece back in his mouth, walks over to his corner. He can't recover. He gets the mouthpiece back in, but he's like holding his jaw and shaking his head, doesn't look ready to continue at all. The ref comes over, looks into his eyes, waves it off. The winner, pretty much before the second round can even get to a start, Lorenzo Hunt. Again, moving on from that one loss just 2 fights ago, showing that may have made him a bigger juggernaut, a bigger beast than he already has been. He is flying up the rankings in bare knuckle, even with only one loss. I mean, anybody can get a loss at any time because it's bare knuckle, bitch. You get hit in the right place with somebody's bare knuckles, anybody in the world's going down. But Hunt is now way over 500 and cruising into BKFC Knuckle Mania 1. That's right, Knuckle Mania. They ripped off WrestleMania, but why the hell not? It's all about the bare knuckles here. This is on February 5th, 2021, and it began with a very measured pace. Lorenzo Hunt versus Rob Morrow. Very measured. Those two guys, very respectable of each other's power. So they're going to take their time. They're going to bide their pace. They're going to wait for their shot. The crowd doesn't love this, but I don't understand how you don't see the skill set in Hunt, and his skill set pretty much demands that he works a measured pace in order to find his spot, in order to find his measure. He's great at that. He's good at the feints. He's good at making his opponents come in at him. Eventually, they lose their patience. They come at him. He knocks them down. He knocks them out. Fans really need to come to see this. Morrow is the taller fighter, and he doesn't have to come in. So that's part of the problem. He's not really coming in. Hunt is baiting and taunting him, telling him, come on, boy, come on, boy. Morrow's trying to get him to come in. He's trying to get Hunt to come in. And the crowd gets a little more restless. Hunt takes some shots. Morrow uses some jabs, but still not a lot of action overall. The crowd's starting to get a little restless, and they're not really booing, but they aren't really loving this. A little more action from Hunt in round 3, and he slips. But the commentators seem to believe it was a knockdown. They seem to think Hunt was knocked down. Not sure if the judges will overrule the ref or not on that. If they do, Morrow is winning this fight. See, what can happen is, if a ref calls a knockdown, that can't be overruled. If the ref calls a slip, the judges can overrule it, or one of the committee members can overrule it and say, no, that was a knockdown. I did not hear of that happening, so I'm guessing that it did not. But the commentators sure believe that it was. Since it wasn't, this fight's pretty dead even at this point. In round 4, Hunt decided it was time. He just came out. I'm not saying impatient, because he's not an impatient fighter. He's one of the most patient fighters in the world. But you could just tell something clicked in him. Something made him decide it's time to put this fight out and over. He went forward with a flurry and knocked Morrow down with a strong 1-2 shot to the jaw. He did not get back up. The winner here in round 4, Lorenzo Hunt. So again, a lot of the fans who just don't seem to like or appreciate a patient fighter who knows what they're doing in regard to finding their spot, maybe are starting to learn a lesson about Lorenzo Hunt. He's not a wild brawler. He's an intelligent fighter. Remember that anytime you see Lorenzo Hunt, like in BKFC 17, his next fight. He took on Josh Dyer. Now, if you watched my Josh Dyer career perspective, you'll know that I've already discussed this fight. I'm going to discuss it again. Okay, last time I wasn't rooting for anybody, but I leaned toward Dyer in what happened in that match. And since I'm talking about Hunt, I'm going to lean towards what happened in the fight according to how I see it following Lorenzo Hunt. Okay, this happened on April 30th, 2021. It started hard and heavy with Hunt coming forward much more than in his past fights. Yeah, I just got done explaining how fans need to calm down and understand that Hunt is a patient fighter and he bides his time. But here, it's like his training camp must have told him, we're going all in on Dyer, because Dyer is a bull of the woods, right? He's the guy that comes forward, and he's probably thinking, I'm going to be able to come forward against Hunt, because he doesn't do that until he feels he's ready. Now, Hunt threw the pace of this fight completely off. Dyer was confused and lost in this fight. I'm not completely. Dyer's still a great fighter. Please don't misunderstand me. But I think Hunt's camp strategy won out here. Okay, this is early in Dyer's career, and BKFC gave him a big fight here, a big fight. Dyer is typically the aggressor, like I said, but here, the whole fight, he's on his back foot. It feels like Hunt decided to change his strategy, and he knocks Dyer down at the end of the first round. Overhand rights and lefts from Hunt can't be stopped by Dyer in this match. He's just getting pummeled with them. Dyer won't tie up. He won't go for the body. He just remains on his horse. A left hook from Hunt in round 3 puts Dyer on his back again. He does recover, and Hunt is knocked down for a third time before round 3 ends, complaining that a contact came out or something, that one of his contacts is messed up. Incredibly, the ref gives him a timeout to go over to his corner and mess with his contacts, and he gets back into the fight. Didn't really help him any. Hunt still is dominating this. Round 4 wasn't anything great because Hunt knew he's winning this. And he knew as long as he can control from being knocked out himself, he's going to win it. And he fought more patiently. He fought more subdued because he didn't have to go crazy. He didn't have to go in all the time and give Dyer a shot of knocking him out or getting a good shot off. Hunt, he's weak in control, but just before the round ended, Hunt went into a small flurry, knocking Dyer back against the ropes. Round 5 doesn't last long. Hunt gets Dyer on the ropes and pummels him, knocking him down for a 4th time in this fight. As Dyer raises, as he gets up, he says he can't see. I can't see. It's that eye with the contact problem. He can't see at all. You can't fight if you can't see. The referee calls it. It is over early in round 5. Winner by TKO, Lorenzo Hunt. Are we sensing the pattern here, folks? Lorenzo Hunt is a beast. He's a monster. He is a winner. Yes, he had that one loss to Trujillo early in his career. 2nd fight, I believe it was. But he has stormed back and beaten some of the biggest names in the business as he enters BKFC 22. Lorenzo Hunt took on Hector Lombard for the inaugural BKFC. No, I'm sorry. Hector Lombard is the BKFC Cruiserweight champion. And this was on 11/12/2021. And the fight was for the inaugural BKFC Light Heavyweight Championship. So, had Lombard won this, he would be a dual champion. And here we have 2 championships on the line because it was the light heavyweight champion and that Police Gazette title that no longer is in BKFC. It's over in bare knuckle boxing now, but it was for 2 titles. Okay, round 1 was fairly exciting with both men nailing hard shots. Lombard is busted open in 2 places on his face in the first round. Not horribly, but he's bleeding pretty profusely. Of course, when you're active like that, when you're fighting, your heart's pumping and the sweat's flowing, that makes the blood flow even more. Nobody knows that more than professional wrestlers, right? Lombard was clearly knocked down in round 1, but the ref called it a slip. I don't think it was even debatable based on what I saw. I don't know. I thought it was a knockdown, but the fight continues. And the way I'm watching this, I don't look at the results ahead of time because I like to be surprised. The way I'm watching this fight, I'm thinking it's going to go all 5 rounds because both guys are tough as hell and both guys are measuring and biding their time. That doesn't mean it was slow. They got in close. They hit each other hard. There was a lot of bleeding, but both of these guys are like old shoe leather. They're just so tough. You can't cut it with a pair of scissors, right? Even though a guy's busted open. Bad analogy, Uncle Adam. But no, both of these guys are tough as hell. The first 2 rounds flew by. Round 3 saw even more competition with a possible edge going to Hunt for moving forward and doing a little bit more damage to Lombard's face. Hunt wants Lombard to come forward, which he always does. He always wants his opponents to come at him. And Lombard gives it to him a little bit, but not too much. Hunt seems to be in a little better shape than Lombard. He's not breathing as labored, but Lombard gets a half-tie plum and gets some uppercuts in on round 4. Man, if you can get that half-tie plum, grab somebody by the back of the neck and just start delivering uppercuts, that's going to do some damage, and that is what Lombard did here. The 4th round ends with both men in close striking each other. You got the phone booth fighting chest to chest. They're going at it big time. This is going to go to round 5. Both men went the heaviest in the final round, battering each other back and forth, neither going down. This was a great, solid fight, but it is going to go to the judges, which your Uncle Adam hates. Uncle Adam doesn't like the judges, doesn't like them getting involved, but here we are. When you have 2 amazing guys, 2 tough guys that will not drop, no matter how much damage they take, it's often going to go to the judges. Hunt landed 13% more of his strikes, so he gets the victory here by unanimous decision. Your winner after 5 rounds and the new BKFC light heavyweight champion, Lorenzo Hunt. He is also the 185-pound Police Gazette diamond belt. I'm getting a replica of that title, which will go up there real soon. But it's bare knuckle boxing now, so we won't focus on that. BKFC light heavyweight champion, the man, Lorenzo Hunt. He walks into BKFC 2022 as the light heavyweight champion to take on Joe Riggs. Now, I'm a big fan of Joe Riggs. I've just found Lorenzo Hunt when I found Bare Knuckle Fighting, and the guy's great, fun to watch. Joe Riggs has been around a while. UFC, WEC, back when I watched that shit, back when MMA was good. I'm sorry, I think MMA kind of puts me to sleep now, even though a lot of these guys shoot for that because it's bigger notoriety and more money. I get it. But Joe Riggs, as a bare knuckle fighter, has risen to become the number one contender for the light heavyweight title that Lorenzo Hunt is now wearing and defending here. Okay. Decent action here with Hunt getting a knockdown on Riggs, but it was fairly controversial. Some people thought it was a slip. No matter, Hunt wins round 1 with that. And round 2, both guys were measuring quite a bit, but Hunt got Riggs against the ropes and delivered multiple body shots until Riggs dropped his guard and Hunt nailed him in the side of the head. I mean, it was strategy that worked beautifully, right? Hunt gets Riggs in the rope, boom, 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 to the body, and he's sort of trying to guard with his elbows because he wants to keep his fists up, but eventually he drops his entire arm, at least one of them, to try to defend those body shots and gets clocked in the side of the head, knocked him down. He couldn't get to his feet. He tried, stumbled. Literally, the guy should have just taken a knee or something. Who am I to advise Joe Riggs, one of the best of all time? But I'm just saying, he just kept struggling to get to his feet and actually fell once again across the bottom rope. It's over. Winner by knockout in the second round. Lorenzo Hunt now beating legends like Joe Riggs. Really moving on and upward as we head into Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship number 30. Lorenzo Hunt took on Quentin Henry for the vacant BKFC Cruiserweight Championship. You see, as these fights have been happening, as Hunt's career has been moving along, this Cruiserweight title is now vacant for one reason or another. I guess I should have looked into that, but you have to forgive Uncle Adam. I did not do that. I did not do my duties here to find out what happened to that title, but it is vacant. Now, Jade Cargill, if you're familiar with wrestling, and those of you who know me know that I spent 50 years as a pro wrestling fan and about 10 being involved in professional wrestling myself. I know it inside out and upside down, even though I don't care to watch it anymore. I know Jade Cargill is a star. She's still fairly new, still fairly green in the business. She's the current WWE champion here. She was the AEW TBS champion. She leads Lorenzo Hunt, out for this bout. So that was kind of interesting in a way. The fight started with both men rushing at each other. I mean, they just came in, man, swinging away. Both men hit the ground at the same time. They just collapsed on top of one another, and this caused a major controversy. Now, Big Dan Mergliotta, our referee, and the BKFC officials, from my understanding, said that Hunt absolutely did not hit Henry on the ground. Henry's claiming that he did, including when this fight ends. Henry's claiming it was a dirty blow, that they both stumbled. The stumble was accidental, but when they fell, Henry's saying that Hunt hit him. Camera work, maybe a little. You have to make up your own mind. Watch this fight against it's BKFC number 30. I don't think it was a big deal at all. There was a little bit of a break, and they allowed the fight to restart. They restarted the fight. I'm pretty sure they did. Now, if it didn't restart, there was only about 10 to 15 seconds that went on anyway. But generally, the fight restarts, and that made it interesting in and of itself. As the fight is getting ready to start, Hunt is screaming at Henry to get up, let's go. They actually restart the fight, and it's a slow round with both guys going in and out, respecting each other's power, sort of in, swinging away, out, in, swinging away, out. No flurries, but just some jabs and some overhand attempts. But it wasn't super exciting the first round. Now, you got to understand, I mean, my God, we had that situation where Henry was knocked on the ground claiming to be hit. He looked knocked out. He was on his stomach and not moving. So, of course, he's going to be a little slow in the first round, which that's how the first round went. It's clear that the guy who lands a full power shot is going to win this, as both men are fighting like they know that. They both want to avoid each other's power for sure. In round 3, Henry was having the best round of the fight. I mean, he was going in, he was getting shots. I'm not saying I think Hunt was about out of it, but Hunt was losing round 3. There's no doubt about that. But then he gets caught on the side of the head with a massive blow and is knocked out. This is the thing about Hunt. He's like a caged animal, man. You can get him backed up. You can get him guarding. You can get him a little bit close to hurt. But something snaps inside of him when that happens, and he comes back, lands a shot on the side of the face of Henry, and knocks him out cold. The winner, and now the holder of 2 BKFC championships, the light heavyweight and the cruiser title, the cruiserweight title, Lorenzo Hunt. He continues to step on and step on his opponents and step up on the podium, claiming himself the best, claiming that his goal is to eventually work his way to a heavyweight title shot and be the first BKFC fighter of all time ever to hold 3 titles simultaneously. What an incredible goal that is. Can he do it? We're going to find out. BKFC Knucklemania 3 is what we're up to now. Lorenzo Hunt versus Mike Richmond on February 17th, 2023. This was insane. Richmond came out pushing the pace and using body shots to back Hunt up and knocked him down in the first round. Okay, there's your secret to Lorenzo Hunt. If you can push the pace and use body shots and not just go headhunting, you can hurt this guy. As awesome as he is, as amazing as he is, 2 title holder wanting to be a 3 title holder, he can be beaten. Now, it wasn't over, but Richmond really came out and proved his stuff, right? Hunt took the 8 count and Richmond came in to finish, okay? Hunt took the 8 count. Could have got up before 8 probably, but he took the 8 count. That's smart. Gets up, and now Richmond's like, okay, he's hurt. I'm going to come in and finish him off. But he was a little sloppy doing so. And on a counter punch, Hunt knocks him out. I mean, he's out flat in his back, and his mouth does this. I had to impersonate it. That's how out he was. You have to see this to believe it. One of the biggest comebacks I have ever seen, because Hunt was hurt. He went down. And when Richmond came in to try to finish the fight, he paid for it. He lost. Winner by knockout, Lorenzo Hunt, baby. Is that not getting something you're used to hearing now? Your winner, Lorenzo Hunt. Your winner, Lorenzo Hunt. Better keep getting used to it, because we're going into BKFC 50 Lorenzo Hunt versus Chris Camozzi. Now, if this gets to the ears of Lorenzo Hunt or Chris Camozzi, both fighters I greatly respect. Uncle Adam thinks you both guys are great and would be proud to call you nephews. This was a boring fight, okay? Sometimes, once in a while, baby, you got to get a little bucked up and try to push it more. Try to risk it more. You got to risk it for the biscuit, right? Both of these guys fought cautiously all 5 rounds. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, but because there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. There were some nice combos from Camozzi near the end of round 1. The second round, though, was slower with some flurry just before the bell. Some clinching in the third round, and the crowd's starting to get restless. Lots of close-up fighting, lots of phone booth fighting, lots of chest-to-chest. It's all both guys hit solid shots on one another. Round 4 was a little back and forth, but not much. Still a little measuring. Both guys waiting on an opening, continuing to respect each other's ability. And we get to round 5. It was just like all the others. Clinching, phone booth fighting, measuring. Overall, while I understand strategy like this, I do. This fight just wasn't exciting. This is the most boring Lorenzo Hunt fight of them all. Not bad. Boring doesn't mean bad. I'm not going to give it a wiener, but I'm not going to give it a leaner either. This was just, it was 2 good fighters respecting each other to a point that neither one of them were decisively beaten. That said, though, more accurate in his strikes, which is familiar. The few times you see Hunt go 5 rounds, he's almost always, or I think he has been always, the most accurate striker in the fight. And just like when that happened the last time, it won him the fight this time by split decision, not unanimously this time, but the winner by split decision, Lorenzo Hunt. That's a big win. Camozzi is a badass, right? We know that now. We knew it then, but we really know it now. So Hunt overcame a badass here. He had to do it by decision, but he did it nonetheless. And that brings us until the final fight so far, to the one coming up here in just a few days, of Lorenzo Hunt. This happened at Knucklemania 4 on April 27, 2024, and he took on Mitch Terrell for the BKFC Heavyweight Championship. That's right. This light heavyweight, this cruiserweight champion, is going to step in against the heavyweight champion and try to meet his goal to become a 3 title holder. No one's ever done it in BKFC. Can Lorenzo Hunt do it? He can. Will he? Let's take a look at it. Let's see here. The fight started well, Hunt being patient and Terrell trying to use his power. Just before the end of round one, Terrell knocked Hunt down with a big uppercut. Now, Hunt wasn't knocked out, but when he fell, and you have to see it, he fell on his arm like this. He fell flat on the ring mat on his arm, dislocated his elbow. Damn it. Fight had to be stopped. You can't fight with your elbow dislocated, even though Hunt says after the fight he could have, but he just didn't. Now, you don't want to mess yourself up even more and be out of action even more. Now, of course, Mitch Terrell saw it differently. When the fight is stopped and called for TKO, medical stoppage victory for the heavyweight champion, Mitch Terrell, big props to him. He sees it like this. He said, hey, I knocked him down and he broke his arm. I mean, that's pretty much the truth. That's what happened. So Terrell didn't see it as like an unfortunate accident. He saw of him knocked him down so hard when he landed on his own arm, he broke it. That's how hard he knocked him down. That makes sense to me, right? But, you know, it really wasn't much of a fight. I really hope there's a rematch for this one day down the line. And why do I say down the line? Because after this loss, okay, a few weeks after, Hunt was fined 40% of his person, suspended for 18 months due to testing positive for banned substances. Now, I don't want to say that I believe Hunt is a drug user, you know, a performance-enhancing drug user. I don't. But whatever he did here was probably, I'm not making excuses for it, but he's going in there against a guy who's like 15 pounds heavier than him. And yeah, it was his choice. He wanted this, but he probably got a little carried away and wanted some, you know, extra help, if you will, in fighting such a big dude, you know. So when will this rematch happen? I don't know. You know, does he want to do it without the PEDs? I don't know. But after this fight and after the long 18 months, that's a hell of a long suspension, a year and a half. But he was scheduled, you know, Hunt was scheduled to come back and face Chris Camozzi again for the light heavyweight title, which of course was taken off of Hunt. Both titles were. When you're gone for a year and a half, they're not going to wait for your return to defend those title. And in the meantime, Camozzi has won the title, and they were going to have another fight. They went 5 rounds just recently, but 18 months later, on April 26, 2025 at BKFC 73, this was going to be the main event, Camozzi versus Hunt. Hunt got injured in camp and had to cancel. So look, it's been some time since Lorenzo Hunt has stepped back into a BKFC squared circle. Dual champion, fought for a third championship, just came up short due to injury, but he's now scheduled to face Josh Dyer for the BKFC light heavyweight title in a rematch at BKFC 84 on November 15th at Palm Desert, California. Just a few days from the date I'm recording this. I got to take my glasses off to see the date. The date is the 9th. So we've got like 5-6 days until we see the return of the juggernaut, Lorenzo Hunt, in a return fight against the man he pretty much walked through, Josh Dyer, who's improved tremendously while Hunt has been away. So this fight should be incredible. And that's why I've done career perspectives on each of these gentlemen, each of these fighters, as we prepare to watch them take on each other for that prestigious title on the 15th in just a couple of days. Look, these guys are worth checking out. Subscribe to BKFC subscription. It's like $8 a month. You can go back and watch all these shows I'm talking about, really get your feet under you in regard to who these fighters are and what they're about, and prepare for bouts like that are coming up in just a few short days. I'm your Uncle Adam of KnuckleTFUp.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel in the very least. Would you do that for me? I'm just doing anything I can to get the word out and buck up for Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. And I'll be back to talk more bare knuckle before you know it.